Hello, viewers. Welcome to Mesology. In this session, I'll give you an idea about the commercial production of silk in India. Bombyx mori is the main cultivated silkworm, the other being the Bombyx mandarina. There are 8 different species known to us that feeds on mulberry leaves. Beyond these, there are 2 dozen other moth genera under the family Bombycidae. Their closest relative includes the cosmopolitan wild silk moth of Antheri species. They belong to the family Saturnidae with Atlas, Cecropia, Royal, Regal, and Luna moths. There are several moth species in the family of Saturnidae that produces different forms of wild variety, especially the Antheri species. But sericulture largely relies on the silk produced by the flightless domesticated Bombyx mori silkworms. The life cycle of Bombyx mori ranges in duration from 6 to 8 weeks. Largely, that depends on the ambient conditions prevailing at that place. Life begins with eggs. Around 350 to 500 eggs are laid in one sitting. These eggs tend to hatch during the spring. In warm climates, the eggs hatch within 10 days after laying, and the new silkworms immediately start feeding on mulberry leaves, which is their only food source. The larvae feed voraciously. They grow and molt 4 times in their caterpillar stage. At the last instar, the larvae grows to some 10,000 times its hatching weight. So at the end of the fifth instar, the worm stops feeding. This larval stage is around 24 to 28 days duration. Because silkworms are raised to obtain silk, so it is natural to consider that they are harvested at the end of this larval stage. Once they have enough energy, they spend 3 to 4 days spinning a cocoon around themselves. After 9 days, the cocoons are ready. After the construction of the valuable and protective cocoon, the pupal stage may last for 8 to 10 days, and it is during this the harvesting is done so that the silk yarn can be extracted. Now let's see how does the silk industry perform the process for the extraction and cultivation of the silk. The silk industry performs 3 main activities. The first is the mulberry tree cultivation. This mulberry tree is the main food source for the Bombyx mori or any other silkworm of the family Bombycidae. The next comes is the silkworm rearing. This silkworm rearing which begins from the production of the egg to the feeding of the caterpillars and then the changeover to the last larval stage, and the larvae are killed inside the cocoon by a process called stifling. This is done by dissolving the cocoons in boiling water, usually with a weak alkali. This weak alkali or the soap water helps in degumming and immersing it in a solution of acetic acid helps to obtain a high purity of the silk extract. After this, the extract of the silk fiber are fed into the spinning wheels. Silk reeling is the unwinding of the continuous filament of silk fiber containing a protein called fibroin. This fibroin is secreted by the salivary glands of the silkworm. There are a pair of salivary glands, so a pair of silk yarns are secreted by each silkworm. These two yarns stay attached to each other by a gumming substance secreted by the silkworm, which is called sericin. Sericin can be removed by the use of alkali in the boiling water. And after that, the silk thread is easily extracted. Silk is the queen of textile industries. It spells luxury, elegance, class, and comfort. Silkworms are also found wild in the forest trees. They include the tussar silkworm, which thrives on the Maduka indica or the Terminalis arjuna. They are the species called Antheria papia. The next is the silk called the Muga silk. This is produced by the silkworms of the species Antheria asamensis. These Muga silkworms are extensively reared in the state of Assam in India. Then we have the Samia ricini or the Philosamia cynthia ricini, which produces the airy silk. These airy silkworms, they feed upon the leaves of castor and tapioca as the main source of food. But certain other perennial trees like golancha, papaya are also its food sources. Then there is another family of the silkworms called Sphingidae. Maduka sexta or the sphinx moth. India enjoys the unique distinction from all other silk producing countries of the world. It is in being the sole country that produces all the varieties of natural silk. Main silk producing countries do include China and India. Brazil, North Korea, Thailand, and Vietnam are also amongst the others who produce silk in good quantities. Care is taken at each step that a sustainable production should be done, producing functionally unique products. It is expected that in future a silk derivative industry can also be established. to enhance the consumer goods, and the medical products can also be extracted from the silkworms. 13% of the world's raw silk is produced in India alone. The raw silk production in the fiscal year 2023 amounted to over 36,000 metric tons. So it makes India not only the good producer of silk but also the largest consumer in the entire world. In the year 1988, UNESCO inaugurated the Silk Road program to provide a platform to highlight and document the extraordinary and transformative impact of silk trade. This happened through a cultural interchange that occurred as the traders, beginning with an originally diplomatic mission that started from China to Asia. Thank you for watching. You may leave your queries in the comment section below. I will respond to them as early as possible. If you liked my video, do not forget to give a thumbs up. Share it with your friends who may like the video, and also subscribe to my channel if you still haven't subscribed to it. Thank you once again.